In the history books of war, sometimes a single technical innovation does more than change a single battle. It changes how people think about firepower. On the European battlefields of the 1940s, one machine gun stood out not because it was the most expensive or the most refined, but because it was cheap, fast, and merciless. Men called the sound it made a saw, a noise that struck terror into those who heard it. Today's story takes us behind the scenes of one of World War II's most influential weapons, the MG-42, a machine gun engineered for mass production at a very low unit cost that left a technical legacy spanning a century. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll explore its origins, its manufacturing logic, the battlefield experience it created, and the global influence it exerted, along with reflections on how inexpensive technology can reshape wars and the lives of people involved. In the early 1940s, Germany was rearming and expanding its fronts. The MG-34, the predecessor, was a technical leap, accurate and versatile, but time-consuming and resource-intensive to make. The MG-34 was almost a piece of mechanical art, many finely machined parts requiring skilled craftsmen and complex assembly lines. As the war widened and demand for machine guns exploded, the Army faced a stark question: how to equip enough firepower without breaking the production base? Into that context came a different approach. Instead of building from fine mechanical craftsmanship, simplify the parts, switch to stamped metal fabrication, and reduce precision machining steps. Sheet metal stamping shops could run high-speed presses with workers and dies, producing parts that were fit for purpose while drastically cutting labor and time. That idea led to a new design, a machine gun built to be assembled quickly, easily repaired, and mass-produced. The defining concept behind the MG-42. The key factor was not just mechanical performance, it was a production philosophy. In modern war, quantity can outweigh a few percentage points of performance. If you can place more machine guns across the line, you change tactics, concentrate suppressive fire, and impose psychological pressure on the opponent. To truly understand the MG-42, look at who built it. The makers were not traditional weapons firms in the usual sense. They were sheet metal fabricators with large stamping capacity. These companies brought industrial production thinking to weapons, reduced the number of machine components, replaced them with stamped parts, fasten and weld assemblies. The outcome was a robust platform that could be produced quickly in large numbers. Structurally, the MG-42 was designed with minimal complex machine parts. Many components were stamped and pressed, then joined by bolts and rivets. That shortened build time and lowered the rate of precision failures. One notable feature was the quick change barrel. On the battlefield, the barrel heats rapidly during sustained fire. The MG-42 allowed the gunner to swap barrels in seconds, keeping the weapon operational. Performance-wise, the MG-42 achieved very high rates of fire, typically between 1,000 and 1,500 rounds per minute, with about 1,200 RPM commonly cited. At that rate, it produced a near-continuous curtain of lead, making movement hazardous. The rapid burst created the distinctive continuous roar that soldiers likened to a saw, hence the buzzsaw nickname. High rate of fire brought advantages in suppressive capability but also costs. Ammunition expenditure skyrocketed, barrels overheated more often, and recoil was greater. The MG-42 mitigated these issues with a rigid receiver, strong mounting options, and the fast change barrel system. From a production perspective, switching to stamping lowered the unit cost significantly. Workers did not need the highest craftsmanship level to assemble a unit. With proper assembly line procedures, output rates soared. Hence the oft-quoted figure, a single gun costing roughly $100, a simplified conversion to emphasize production efficiency rather than an original invoice. A number intended to illustrate the strikingly low relative cost per unit when measured against earlier methods. How did the MG-42 feel on the battlefield? Imagine standing in a trench. Across from you, a machine gun team brings an MG-42 to bear. When they squeeze the trigger, the first thing you notice is not discrete cracks, but a dense, unbroken stream, a wall of sound hitting you. At typical combat distances, The stream of bullets creates a near-continuous danger zone. Attempting to cross it becomes almost suicidal. With its high rate of fire, the MG-42 excelled at stopping advances, defending positions, and laying down suppressive fire. It could be mounted on a tripod for stable long-range fire or deployed on a bipod for more mobile support. The locking and recoil systems functioned reliably. The gun's solid structure reduced the tendency to wander under recoil. A technical highlight was the barrel and cooling strategy. Instead of a heavy water-cooled sleeve, MG-42 employed the doctrine of rapid barrel change. Gunners carried spare barrels and swapped them as needed, ensuring continuous operation. This quick change system later became a standard for many machine guns. The saw sound wasn't merely noise, it had real psychological effects. Numerous veterans recalled that hearing the MG-42 caused panic, disrupted command and control, and sapped morale. The psychological effect, coupled with dense fire, often delivered greater battlefield impact than raw ballistics numbers suggested. However, that efficacy came with logistical burdens. The weapon consumed ammunition voraciously, required frequent barrel changes, and demanded disciplined maintenance. In modern warfare, a powerful weapon is only as useful as the supply chain that supports it. Armies that could not sustain the ammunition flow found the initial advantages eroded over time. The low production cost of the MG-42 is among the traits that made it iconic. When people say about $100, they're using a shorthand to stress the dramatic reduction in per-unit cost once stamped production methods were applied. A figure meant to symbolize manufacturing efficiency rather than a literal contemporaneous invoice. The strategic effect of that low cost is profound. If you can provide many more machine guns, unit organization changes. Suppressive fire can be distributed more broadly. Squads and platoons can host more firepower. Defensive positions become more formidable without equally large increases in manpower. Planners realized that a modest investment in mass production capacity could yield large tactical returns. On a larger scale, industrial capacity underpinned modern warfare. The MG-42 demonstrated that process innovation, not just mechanical invention, could shift the balance in war. The design also blurred the lines between civilian industrial capability and military need. Commercial stamping shops, normally serving peacetime industries, became valuable military suppliers. After the war, few weapons designs vanished entirely. Many ideas survived, evolved, and were repurposed. The MG-42 stands out among them. Not only was the original weapon preserved in some arsenals, but its manufacturing logic and mechanical concepts became the foundation for post-war general-purpose machine guns. Firearms designed to serve in multiple roles: infantry support, vehicle mount, or fixed defense. German firms like Rheinmetall and other manufacturers developed modernized versions built on the MG-42's framework. Engineers worldwide studied its operating system, quick-change barrel, and stamping-friendly components to craft weapons suited to their own needs. Weapons such as the German MG3, a direct lineage, and the conceptual influences apparent in designs like the M60, FN MAG, and Soviet PK carry echoes of the MG-42's ethos: simple, robust, and producible. The influence wasn't limited to mechanical architecture. It was a conceptual shift. Designers treated the machine gun not merely as a single weapon, but as a system, integrated with ammunition logistics, mounting options, and unit doctrine. Post-war armies learned that a weapon's value depended on how well it fit within training, supply, and tactical doctrine. From an industrial viewpoint, the MG-42 exemplified how a design optimized for stamping could be easily adapted to modern manufacturing. In places with robust industrial bases, that principle led to further adoption and improvement. In regions lacking such capacity, the lesson shifted toward designing for easy repair and parts replacement. There is a sobering reality to confront. Regardless of technical brilliance, Weapons bring humanitarian consequences. The MG-42's capacity to inflict casualties became part of many traumatic memories. While we analyze performance in manufacturing, we must not ignore the human cost. Soldiers, families, and societies who endured the aftermath. Tactically, the MG-42 forced attackers to adapt. Coordinated suppressive fire, rapid maneuver, use of cover, and training under intense fire became necessities. Humanitarian consequences were acute. The high rate of fire increased the potential for mass casualties and intensified the emotional toll on survivors. Military history often quantifies weapons by effect. Human history counts losses and moral questions. The MG-42, like many military innovations, forces difficult moral considerations. As science and industry advance, how do we minimize the suffering caused by new technologies? That question has no simple answer, but it cannot be evaded. The technical legacy of the MG-42 endures in modern machine guns, modular thinking, quick change barrels, reliable operating mechanisms, and above all, a design philosophy emphasizing mass producibility. In the 21st century, as manufacturing and automation advance, the principle simple, effective, easy to produce still guides many weapon designers. Yet modern technology also offers ways to reduce harm. Lighter materials, more precise fire control systems, better ammunition management, and international legal frameworks that compel actors to weigh the consequences of force. The MG-42's legacy is therefore double-edged. It teaches us about industrial innovation's power and about how that power can amplify harm when misapplied. The MG-42 is not just the story of a single firearm. It's a story about the industrialization of war and how a production idea can reshape tactics and history. When we revisit such chapters, we should remember both the engineering achievements and the human lives affected and ask, what will our technologies serve in the years to come?